Did you know? Did you know? I bet that if you had known, you wouldn't have been, you know, been weary the entire time. If you had known, you wouldn't have been weary the entire time. So now this prophetic word is not for everyone, but and I believe that it's going to be for a lot of people, right? A lot of people. So if you had known, you wouldn't have been weary trying to figure out your left move from your right move. Actually, this is a word that the Lord gave to me a couple of days ago, right? The Lord showed me the game of Legos. He showed me Lego, right? And when He showed me that, He kept showing me that consistently, and I was, when it became consistent, I knew the Lord was trying to draw my attention on the game of Lego. And believe me, I found out the Lord is just amazing, because I kept asking Him, Lord, give me more details about this. I need more insight, more revelation about this. And the Holy Spirit beautifully did it. He always does it like that, right? The game of Lego is a game of build up, right? Building up, putting two and two together and then building it up to a certain point, building up a mansion, building up a home. It's all about build ups, right? And so, I say this to say that if you knew that this is what the Lord was doing, you wouldn't have been weary the entire time, right? The Lord had to build you. The Lord had to build you for where He is taking you, because the warfares, the spiritual war, the witchcraft attacks, the Holy Spirit literally reminded me of the game of Mario, because I was actually having a conversation with someone, and then we stumbled upon the situations. Like I shared this word that the Lord gave to me with an individual, right? And believe me, as I was doing that by the help of the Holy Spirit, He was also giving more downloads and more insights, right? So the game of Lego, the Lord had to build you up. He was building you up the entire time. Like the game of Mario, at stage one, you no longer have to fight that stage one demon that you had to fight. You realize that the higher you go, the more difficult it is to overcome the demon, right? And so you needed to go through all these stages for the build-up points. When you are able to conquer at a certain level, when it gets to a certain level, it's much easier for you to do that, because the previous levels have been able to build you up for the one before. But then the overall thing is, what the end all be all is what God needs you for, right? Like the blessings, and then the manifestation, and then the breakthroughs that you are prepared. The Lord had been planning for you the entire time. The Lord had to build you up in capacity to handle these things. There's this word that I heard, that we should be very cautious of the type of blessings we ask, because truth of the matter is, we might not be able to handle the kind of things which we ask for, because it will take a certain level of capacity to be able to handle that blessing, right? And when we do not have the capacity to handle it, when it's handed over to us, we can either flip it, ruin it, destroy it, and in the building process, the Lord had to open your eyes on certain things that had been going on behind the scenes and the entire time. Some of you, the Lord had to build you up in capacity to fight certain high-ranking entities, because previously, when you were in that situation, you couldn't find a clue to be able to handle it, because you had no knowledge about it, and you were not built up or trained for it, right? And so because of that, the analogy I'm also getting here is also like, for instance, you be asking God to bless you with a God ordained partner, But then little did you know that the God ordained partner that the Lord had to give to you was automatically going to stir up hell for that individual, because the enemy detests God ordained relationships and marriages. And so he would always use compromised people, demonically influenced people to come at it. He would always use the Jezebels and the warlocks to come against it. And so the Lord had to build you up by the knowledge and by fighting certain things at certain stages to enlighten you, to open you up, to build you up in capacity, so that when therefore he then hands over this God ordained marriage to you, you are already enlightened. You already have the capacity. You are already trained to know what is going on. So when something of that similarity comes in, you will know what exactly that is great. The Holy Spirit is funny. Like, oh my God. Right? You know what exactly it is that is going on, what exactly it is that is happening. Right? Same as the word that the Lord gave to us yesterday about the fact that there's about to be a heavy financial outpour. Right? Some of you, the Lord had to allow the enemy to steal from you. Unfortunately, he allowed it, because if the Lord didn't allow it, he wouldn't have permitted it in the first place. He used it to train you, to give you wisdom. So when he blesses you with the huge financial blessing, you know how to be able to handle it. You know how to be able to multiply it. You know how to be able to, make good use of it. You know how to be able to be obedient with it, right? So therefore, if the Lord tells you do this with it, you will do this with it. And therefore, you also have enlightened you with how to be able to fish out, manipulators, because there are people that would manipulate you to be able to get what you want. And so the Lord had to train you through all these processes that you had to go through. You had to sharpen your discernment to be able to look into the individuals that are manipulative, so that when he hands over this blessing to you, which is not necessarily for you but for nations, for the kingdom's sake, right, you are not going to hand it over to manipulators, right? So little did you know that the Lord was building you the entire time. Yes, he was building you the entire time. And he wanted to make you a finished project. The thing is, you see, the Holy Spirit is just amazing. You see, when building, right, the whole construction site, when building a house, it takes a lot of investment, right? A lot of energy into building the house, from the foundation level to be able to, put in, certain things in place. It's all not an easy process, because we see how the workers have to work from morning to night to be able to, get to a certain level in a project, right? And so at the end of the day, all the hard work does not go waste, or it's not futile. At the end of the day, a beautiful mansion is built. And then that's when people can be able to be in that mansion. That's when lives can be able to be in that mansion, because the foundation is strong and work has been put into it. And so therefore it's a finished project, right? And then now it appears beautiful on the outside. Same as when the Lord's blessings comes upon your life. They that do not know how the whole process was going on would think or see it to be an overnight shift. But it's between you and God, that know that you were in a process the entire time. You were being built up. You were being trained. You were being processed. For example, those that the Lord has called into ministry, those that the Lord has called into business, those that the Lord is putting into God ordained marriages, process. So little did you know that the Lord had been building you up the entire time. Yes, he was building you up the entire time. Preparation is very important. Very, very